see meters bouncing. So what's up, long players? Welcome back to the Long Play Listening Party, the show where we go deep on local music, writing, recording, inspiration, gear, and whatever else sounds good to us. I'm Howie Howard from Mr. Furious Records. What's going on, Nate Holt, Astrala's Music?
Everything's going pretty well. How's everything with you?
Everything's all right. And welcome back, Til Willis.
Yes.
First guest of 2023.
Hey.
I promised you like 4 months ago it would be you. And I kept my promise.
Hey, I appreciate that.
How are you doing tonight, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Excellent. Well, you are here.
Got everything after recording session last night for somebody else. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Awesome. You're here with your new-ish record with Erratic Cowboy, Grinding of the Stars. And this is a louder record. I think there's some fire in this record. Some aggression. I mean, not like metal aggression, of course, but there's some you really went for it on some of this stuff.
Well, the funny thing is it was recorded at the same time as the last Erratic Cowboy album, Dirt Flowers. So
Okay.
it's been done for, since 2017. And after putting out Dirt Flowers at the end of 2019, I wanted to release Grinding of the Stars in 2020, but we all know what happened there. So
this was been
out now.
delayed. And why now? What made it like the right moment?
Oh, it was the next one in the chute ready to come out. That's why. That's clear log jam.
I guess that's logical. Sure. Were you conscious of sort of sonically when you're choosing the songs to go on each record, or had you? I mean, did you know?
Yeah.
How did you? I mean, and then after you kind of put them together, I mean, were you aware of it before? Or did you kind of notice it after?
The songs on Dirt Flowers, I usually pick songs that feel good together or sound cohesive.
Yeah.
And so I had Dirt Flowers set there, and then all these other songs came in that kind of lent themselves to being more of just showcasing the band as a trio, which we were at the time. It was before Brad McKellop joined up with us. And so we were recording Dirt Flowers and said, I want to do this other one. And I wanted it to sound very different.
Okay.
So Dirt Flowers we cut here in my studio at the house. Grinding of the Stars was actually done in the loft of Austin Sinclair's barn, who plays drums with us. And I really focused all the songs on sounding as much like the trio sounded live at the time, which is why I didn't do a whole lot of guitar overdubs and things, and instead tried to use some vocal textures where I normally would have just probably layered in things.
Okay. Cool.
That makes a lot of sense now that you explain a little about it. I'm glad you mentioned the barn too, because there's something on the Bandcamp page or something that mentioned it being recorded in a barn. And it does have kind of a Neil Young sort of thing.
Thanks. Yeah. Even including one of the tracks, Seed and Root, which was, I recorded the acoustic guitar and vocals in one of the silos.
Nice.
And so all the reverb and stuff on there is just from a mic that was run way up high in the silo.
Let's tell that story again when we get there. That's track number 8. But do you guys mind? Let's go ahead and listen to some music. I'm going to play the opener, Be Driven.
Okay.
And I'm going to follow it up pretty quickly. Since it's a real short opener, I'm going to follow it up pretty quickly with White Lacquer Skin.
Sure.
Not sure where the road came from, or if you could call it a road. I'm not sure if I want to walk or be driven, be driven, be driven.
So 2017, I mean, that doesn't sound like that long ago, but that's 6 years now, kind of.
Yeah.
Will you say that again, Til? I'm sorry, I'm not sure it got captured.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying in some ways it does feel like a long time ago. In some ways it doesn't. I was having to get reacquainted with the songs once we got back together and started playing them, and it was interesting having that much time between them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're reconnecting with emotions and things that had kind of been settled. It's led to a lot of new perspective on the songs overall.
And you have been playing quite a few shows lately, it seems like.
Yeah, you know, it's with the band, we're about out there once a month or something, so.
Yeah, so I'd ask, you know, are you intentionally, you know, trying to make sure you're out there once a month, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's pretty good. We used to play even more shows, but now it seems about once a month is kind of what we can get together.
Yeah, and I know that you play, you know, different places. Are you try to branch out a little bit, or like how do you? Well,
you know, I play a lot of places, you know, solo all the time, and that's just easier. But getting the band out, I mean, it gets rough, you know. Lots of people are in other bands or have kids and those kind of commitments and everything, and so that's a little tougher. We used to do more, now I feel like we're kind of, we'll hit up Topeka or St. Joe or something. And for whatever reason, we haven't done Kansas City in a while, but we are going to be doing a big out of town thing in June. So that'll be fun.
Cool.
And do you want to say anything about that guitar solo? That's a hell of a guitar solo.
Oh, thanks, man. One time I was doing the solo on White Lacquer Skin out, and there's a bit where I use a metal file on the strings, and afterwards this kid came up to me and he's like, "Man, that was cool. Did you make that up?" And I said, "Oh." I was like, "Do you know who Sonic Youth is?" He said, "No." I was like, "Okay, then I made that up." Just
it must not be, man. I'd be worried about the finish on my guitar.
Yeah.
I don't do it on the nicer ones or the ones I've made. That's
right.
A Squire Telecaster that's like, well, it's got some deep grooves in the pick guard from that file.
There you go.
Yeah, you could file a Squire. Good instruments, but yeah, you could file one.
Oh yeah, nobody's
right,
gonna complain about it.
I'm gonna play Snakes, and it's the song title reminded me of a story you told I think the first time you were on the podcast, about something about a little snake crawling up your pant leg or something.
Yeah, I think.
Oh yeah, this was written before that incident, but yeah, that was when we were discussing the Willis Selvage album that he and I did.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The song was Fire, Snakes, and Booze then.
Oh.
So is your life. Snakes understand everything, but the lies they save their venom to form those special ties between themselves and the food that it takes to survive. The lessons in battle, it has been surmised.
So we kind of talked about this earlier, but maybe I want you to get more specific, like revisiting and relearning these songs 5-6 years after you recorded them. And obviously they had to be written before that point. Like, is there one that felt different, or you found a different emotion in it that jumps out, or like not necessarily Snakes, but any one of them?
So, my only sibling, my brother, died New Year's early morning hours of the first day of 2015. And there were songs on this album that I knew were directly related to some kind of complicated feelings. Upon coming back to the album recently, I realized that it's just about every single song on the record. When we recorded it, I probably would have said there are 2 or 3 that are very specifically about him or my relationship, or those kind of feelings that get complicated when somebody dies. But now I would just about say it's almost the entire album deals with that in some way, and I didn't think that in 2017, but I can now see that in 2023.
Sure, absolutely, man.
And like I just kind of noticed, just listening to your albums, like there's always a little bit of a Springsteen vibe, and then like this one kind of is a little Eddie Vedder-ish, I guess, like Pearl Jam-ish. Just I don't like that's that's kind of what I'm getting from it.
Interesting.
It's just me, but I'm just always really pleased by how some of just It feels like there's a nod to it, but I mean, I know it's you, but like, some of the tones or the melodic things that you do.
Sure. I've never been the biggest Pearl Jam fan. I like some stuff. Oddly enough, just in the last month, I woke up one day and decided to start listening to Yield, and was like rediscovering that. I think sometimes when people hear things in my music that maybe not necessarily somebody that inspired me, but I was inspired by a lot of similar people to somebody like Eddie Vedder, so yeah.
Well, I mean, he was a storyteller, and you are too,
And he's like me. He's a huge Springsteen and Tom Petty fan, and
which
Joe
makes,
Strummer,
which makes perfect sense. So but yeah,
and if you'd asked me to pull an influence out of that one, I would have gone more back to the soul kind of influence, maybe with the backing vocals and everything. So
sure,
you do one of the things you do really well, Til, is integrate all that stuff, and it's never. We only mention it. It's fun to talk about and have those reference points, but it's very much you. I mean, we're not taking anything away.
Oh no,
no, not at all.
There are times when I feel like it's almost like leaving a breadcrumb trail, like deliberately put in some little nugget of something that to me totally sounds like what I'm referencing. I don't want to be overt about it, but if people pick up on that, that's kind of cool. I'm kind of leaving a little breadcrumb trail. I once did a thing, and I had the bass player play this lick that to me sounded like a Motown thing, and not that it was a Motown song at all, but so yeah, I like it when people pick up on little things like that.
And it's not like you just said, it's not necessarily in the songwriting, but it could be in the production. And I mean,
exactly.
Whenever you're producing and recording, of course, we're all constantly being like, oh, could you make this like a little bit more like a Motown thing? Or could you make it a little bit more like a Aphex Twin thing? Or, I mean, Nate, when we were, I don't have specific ones in mind, but like when we were working on our record, I'm sure we were referencing specific artists all the time, saying, oh, could you do a little overdub that's a little bit like this?
I would say so, yeah. Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of emails about that, so we should find some.
Yeah, we'll go back and look them up. Maybe I'll find one for the show notes.
That'd be cool.
It's things like that I always found so fascinating about all the albums I loved coming up, when I would pick up on something that seemed like a little hidden message that, oh, if you get this reference, that was made by whoever, or if you knew a specific sample that was used and went, oh, I've got that weird record right over here or something, It's just kind of a cool connection to have with any artist you're listening to.
If you like, specifically on the samples, I've been on a deep dive on this YouTube channel lately called Digging the Greats, I think.
Okay.
It's and he does hip hop and samples and recreates, like, he's amazing at recreating beats, and he'll go find the 2 or 3 or 4 original samples and remake a whole beat, and it sounds very close to the original. But he's this cool. Dude is Nas's live bassist.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
So he has this whole other background, and he's not like just a fan. He's an artist and a really high profile artist in his own way. Right? Like, he's not Nas, but he's playing in Nas's band. So
sure, there's a song on the Guided by Voices album, Half Smiles of the Decomposed, that samples this little bit of this preacher just giving this apocalyptic sermon, and I have that record. I found it at a thrift store. Well, this is a weird thing. It's called the Coming Persecution. I bought it for 25 cents.
That's wild.
Maybe a laugh sometime. Put it on and listen to it once, and immediately it was like, oh wow, that's that little clip in the intro that was used on that GBV record. Things like that I You know?
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that out.
That's crazy.
Wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
On certain days, aspirin.
You know, this one, I wrote it on an acoustic in like this open G with a drop C tuning, and I had recently gotten a baritone guitar, and I was like, I really don't want to have to switch guitars too much to tune them. And all of a sudden I realized, I can do this song on the baritone perfectly. And then so we brought that in, and it's the guitar I'm using there. And I thought of this one as being a little like television as far as making references to things.
Yeah, it's a little jangly.
Yeah.
I like that verb cut on it, and the little tremolo. Is that like tremolo and verb, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and in the background of this one, you can hear there's like this little, it almost sounds like a wind chime, little bell sounds. And
Yeah.
Austin had given me this trunk of stuff that was once owned by some old street performer here in Lawrence. And there's like some weird old cymbals, like some old clackers, and this weird bit of like, it's like two hand-cut metal pipes that has a little handmade little bass that was used for the bells and that were in this old street performer's trunk.
And I bet you could take some cool pictures of some of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and speaking of, just a little aside, man, your artwork is fantastic, dude.
Oh, thanks, man.
Man, it's like there's some of those that I'm like, yeah, I'm just
Thanks, man.
I wanted to say that, man. I wanted to tell you I enjoy all of them.
Thank you. It's another just extension of my compulsion to be creative all the time. That brings me the artwork on the cover for Grinding of the Stars.
Sure.
Is a photo from my hometown of Uray, Colorado, that was taken by my good friend David Huddleston. And I saw that picture back in 2015 or something, and just immediately was like, at some point, I've got to use that for an album cover. And I contacted him, and he sent me a copy, and then it just fit this album perfectly.
Yeah.
All right, so I got like 3 related things to say. I'm not sure what order to go into, but that was another great guitar solo. Did you do this? Did you do the solos live with the band, like as part of that whole trio? Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. So okay, so I'm gonna do one more bit of reference chasing, but I want to come back to the artwork too. So it's so funny, and I definitely get the television thing on like the instrumental kind of theme to this song. But like just to show the diversity, like on all the vocal parts, where I want to go is Otis Redding. So completely different element kind of to bring in.
That's cool.
And then back. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Vocally for me and lyrically, it felt a little like an Elvis Costello song when I was writing it.
Okay.
I feel like for you and me both, I mean, Elvis Costello kind of goes without saying almost. But yeah, so artwork. So
I gotta get a little extra, like a organ or a little something in there.
Sure.
Or a piece of something.
I think I told you, Til, but if not, forgive me. The album that Royce and I did, that you did the artwork for, finally came out like a month ago.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
If I haven't sent it to you, let me know, or just say right now, and I'll make sure and send you the folder.
Yeah, no, you did. I've listened to it. It's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Okay, great. And then also, but still, I still owe you a mastering session, which was our partner for that work. So don't let me forget.
We'll get that worked out.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm going to play.
Am I going to play some organ for you at some point?
Yeah, I know. We got to figure out a time to get you over to play some keys on some of these new songs we've been recording. Another barn album, but this time instead of being in the loft, we've been recording down just in the rehearsal area.
Yeah, I mean, I unless we don't have to talk about all that right now, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get let's find a time to do that.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. All right, well, I'm gonna play Cold Hum, and that will take us to the halfway point.
Sure.
And we'll be back. We'll keep talking. We'll talk after Cold Hum, of course, and then we'll be back next week, listeners, with side B of Grinding of the Stars. Available. Which Bandcamp site is this on, Til? What's the exact address?
It's all just tilwillis.bandcamp.com or through my website, tilwillis.net.
Perfect, and we will link to both in the show notes. Here's Cold Hum.
Beating heart that you turn loose. Every quiet night that fell on you is coming back to the start of the story.
This was a song that when we recorded, it would have been one of the two I said was directly about, my brother's death. And it was the hardest one to get to a point where I could sing it, without being emotional and the kind of like getting choked up. So I didn't even pitch it to the band for quite a while because it took me a few months to get to the point where I could just get through it to show them the whole song.
Yeah.
Man, I feel you. And I'm glad you circled back to the topic because I've written a bunch of songs about my sister over the years. Many since she died. Some she died of colon cancer. Some during her diagnosis. Some way before that. It wasn't. That's not what started the songs, right? Like I always.
No.
They were always in there, but yeah, I've got one that I've never sung after I recorded it. I did 5 takes, broke down after the last take, and haven't sung it since.
It becomes more cathartic the more times you do it. Just like any song, the more you do it, the kind of more removed you get from it. But there's a Beach Boys reference. This song has now taken on a whole other life of its own as we've reinterpreted it as a live song. And it is way more kind of emotionally aggressive and goes totally just down into a kind of noise jam at the end that we've been closing sets with it.
I like that because it pulls you in with that hook. I mean, it's a simple but super catchy little guitar lick that starts every cycle, kind of, You have a great band. Let's talk. Tell us about your band a little bit.
Oh, I was just about to say that's Eric Binkley on the bass there. He's been part of Erratic Cowboy since we got together, formed it. That's in which we celebrated 10 years as a band last spring. So coming up on 11 years now. And
congrats, man. That's
yeah, you know.
pretty good milestone.
Right. And then Austin Sinkler on drums. He's been with us since 2016. And then Brad McKellop joined us in 2019. And that's been fun too, because it's allowed for some nice guitar interplay. We're just different enough and just similar enough that we can bounce off each other pretty well guitar-wise, and I like trading solos with him and stuff.
Yeah, Brad.
Which leads
Brad has a lot of very cool and kind of left field stuff, which I think is a It just adds more dimension to the songs, I think, and yeah, I mean he's
totally
got a lot of taste too. It's not just
he's a master of texture.
Around. Yeah, he's not just messing around with stuff. He's got a lot of intention and he's very, very tasteful. I love the way he plays.
Well, and I I'd known all about his playing since he recorded his first Jasper EP with me, and I love his songwriting too. I wish he would do more of that.
Does he write for Erratic Cowboy?
No. We actually, before the whole pandemic set in, we had, as a band, worked up an entire set of Brad's songs because we all love them. And we were like, oh, this will be great. Then if somebody wants us to put another band on the bill, we'll just say Bradley McKellop is opening the show. We'll be your backing band. Then we can take a break and you and I'll just switch places and, we'll just be a whole package. And it was a lot of fun. But no, this is an interesting point about Grinding of the Stars. He said Brad doesn't play on it. It was before he joined the band, but in some ways I kind of thought Grinding of the Stars might be the last Erratic Cowboy album. Like that might be it for the band. And then, Brad joins the band. It kind of changed the dynamic and what we could do. And I loved what he was contributing to the arrangements of the songs live. And so now we've got to do an album that has Brad on there. So last spring we started this new album we're currently working on, and that's been great, kind of arranging things to have another guitar player in the band, and that's fun.
Awesome. Well, that's a great place to wrap it up for this week, I think. Guest Til Willis, album Grinding of the Stars, available at tilwillis.bandcamp.com and lots of other places, all linked in the show notes. We'll be back next week with side 2 on the Long Play Listening Party. Later, everybody.
See ya.